Somebody is searching for the right child. Somebody is telling you what's right. Now you're going to have to decide what you're gonna do the next step you take in life.
Oops. When I dream about you dancing. I was going to say, it's learning day about marketing and advertising and what Scientology does. I know it was really rough to fight. Thank you guys for waiting so patiently and being so sweet. Hello, Candy's Life. Thank you for being the first waiting in line and jumping across all the SPTV channels. We support you all. Thank you all SPTV channel holders for telling your story and getting Scientology's criminal activities out there. If you can see, I'm wearing the new SPTV shirt from LARA FM TV. So we're going to do, at some point on this episode today, we're going to do a little giveaway. So whoever's still here and sticking in and being strong will be receiving, will have an option to get some goodies before the end of the stream. So on that note, now that I've done my fair share of marketing and promotion, today's episode 24, marketing and advertising and Scientology talk. So we're going to be talking with Mr. Jeff Hawkins. I like to just say Mr. because I say it also in a respectful way, because it's Mr. like I would gladly call you Mr. with authority, because he feels like a respectful, honest human who's giving me a lot of knowledge and care and understanding, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome, Mr. Jeff Hawkins. Hello, hello. I love the goldenrod. Look at the goldenrod. Woohoo.
That's right.
I love it. I need to send you. So part of, I feel like you would look really good in this, like a hoodie like that, a goldenrod like that with the SPTV, LFM TV thing. So I feel like I got to send you that ASAP now that I see this amazing goldenrod sweater on you, or yellow, whatever you want to call it. And also, speaking of merchandise and stuff, we are going to add, do you want to show them, Jeff, under your yellow sweater?
Yeah.
We're going to add straight out of Scientology shirt. It can be in goldenrod or black and white. And it's going to be on the LARA FM website as well. So there you go.
Hey, great.
Straight little rendition from Jeff himself.
Yeah. And I just want to say that any delay was totally my fault. Nothing to do with Lara. She's on the ball as always.
That's so sweet. And I kind of let everybody know in the chat, the man of the hour just having some difficulties. We've got it all figured out. That's good for now. We just went back to your old headset, huh?
Yeah, which works. So that's okay. Yeah.
Good. And this is all just you and me talking about marketing and advertising and all that. So that will be perfect. There's not like 4 or 5 people up on the stream. So hopefully you guys in the chat, let us know if it sounds good and all that. And everybody says, hi, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Anne. Hi, Peggy. Thank you for listening and being here. Yippity doo dah. I was just listening to Amy and PTS for Life, Amy Scobie, Jeff's channel. And that was really fun. So today we get to talk. I thought, Jeff, what a perfect thing to talk about, like marketing and advertising. Because now I sing in this outside world, have my little creative life of all sorts of branches as
which is wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, as LARA FM. And I was like, what a great chat to have with you. Not only have you spent how many 30 years at Gold Base or something doing the marketing and advertising, or I guess I'm mixing things up, because before you went to Gold Base, right? You were
I was already still doing marketing and advertising. I did that most of my Sea Org career which was like over 30 years. You know.
And your most of your Sea career, correct me if I'm wrong, was at Gold Base, right? Golden Air Productions.
About 18 years at Gold Base.
Okay. And then before that, it was in Los Angeles area?
Well, before that, it was, I was running the Dianetics campaign in Los Angeles. And then before that, I was in Clearwater at the Flag Land Base. And before that, I was on the Apollo. So
that's right. And so you had, I feel like, little snippets of Scientology Sea Org years. Like, when did you say you officially joined the Sea Org from being a Scientologist?
1971. I was on the Apollo in training to be the commanding officer of the European Publishing Organization. So I was there for Flag Executive Briefing course and the organization executive course, and I did all of that aboard the ship. And
you were still a Scientologist, or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a Scientologist can do those courses. You weren't in the Sea Org yet. They didn't recruit you, so to speak, for the Sea Org yet, right?
No, but everyone who was on the Flag Executive Briefing course joined the Sea Org.
Oh, like that was a must, or
no,
it just happened to happen?
It was voluntary, but everybody volunteered because it was the thing to do. You know, it was very kind of.
And were you by yourself at that time? Like, did you have a partner?
That was when I was married to my first wife, Christina.
Okay, and so did she also join the Sea Org with you at this time?
Yeah.
And was and sorry, I'm like, was she also, so she joined with you, and then was she also like kind of into it like you were, like in terms of like helping, like almost being a Sea Org member before you joined the actual Sea Org?
We had both been at the Pubs Org in Copenhagen, and then we were selected for training to be the command team for Pubs. And we went to the ship at the same time, did our courses, and then we fired back to Pubs, and I was the commanding officer. I was like 24, something like that.
Wow. Wow. Okay, cool. Okay, wow. So there you guys have it. So I just wanted to give everybody a perspective of your years just being in Scientology and the Sea Org, and then most of all that time, even in Copenhagen, would you say that you were you were in the sort of marketing and promotion, sort of designing or whatever department?
Yeah. I was always sort of at the design and publishing end of things. And, but I'm really mostly self-taught in terms of advertising and marketing.
Oh, that was one of my questions. Did you ever go to school or anything for this, like a specific school to do this, or there you go. So you were mostly self-taught.
Mostly self-taught. I did go to an art school for a year.
For 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's now it's called Cal Arts. But back in that day, it was called Chenard's Art School, and it was right in downtown LA near MacArthur Park.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Near MacArthur Park. And Cal Arts, I believe, is now downtown Los Angeles, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
that's so cool. It's so wild to hear you say Cal Arts, or even like a school, and you only went for a year, right? Like, was it because you had to go? Like, no, for some sort of credential, or?
No. I had gone for 2 years to the University of Redlands, out in Redlands, California, which is near the Ent base.
Right. That I was gonna say.
And so I went to college for 2 years at Redlands, and I felt that was not going anywhere for me because I wanted to be an artist. Were you a
Scientologist a little bit at all, or anything in the time that you were in Redlands?
No.
Okay, so from there, at what point did you hear about Scientology?
Well, I heard about Scientology in 1967.
Before Redlands.
After.
Oh, okay. So you didn't hear
Yeah.
anything about it when you were going to any kind of art school or whatever.
I had never
okay.
heard. I had never heard the
Okay.
word.
Okay.
And some friends of mine had. Well, actually, the LA org sent an FSM up to where I was living, which was in Sierra Madre Canyon, if you know where that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And back in '67, it was a huge center of hippie culture.
Mm.
And I was like a full-blown hippie. Had hair down
Yeah,
to
I
my
was going to say,
shoulders.
I'm noticing a lot, Jeff. I'm starting, whether I want to really admit it or not, I'm starting to see that a lot of gold base, specifically, I mean, just that generation of parents and stuff like that have really were in this hippie frame of mind. They were kind of running away from what the normal standards were, or what was expected, or religion, and how their parents grew up, my grandmother, et cetera, et cetera. They were kind of setting themselves free to a more spiritual realm, I feel. And that kind of was looked at as like hippie.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were full on hippie. You wanted to be artful, and you were kind of not interested in the school, like wake up, do this. And you just wanted to be an artist.
University of Redlands is a Baptist school. So it's very kind of confining. And I was, the people that I hung around with were the art majors at the university, some of whom I still am in touch with. But we were the crazies, you know.
And you were the crazies, but you were also obviously art majors. Like people, these were okay, cool, yeah.
We were serious about art,
right?
And not very serious about anything else. You know?
Okay, yeah.
So yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so then, when did you hear about Scientology? You said
1967.
But that was so you were Redlands, right?
I was up in the Sierra Madre Canyon at the time.
Okay.
And the canyon after that split into two parts. Half of the canyon went into Scientology, and half of the canyon went into hard drugs, heroin and cocaine. So I went
hilarious.
to the Scientology side.
Okay. Wow. I mean, was that a better choice?
You know, it was not a good choice. We'll put it that way.
Well, you know, we all have our strengths from, not that anybody needs to go through Scientology, but we definitely do. We've learned our own experience that other people will never have because of the way and the process and our minds and how we were and what we felt vulnerable and open up, and what we were also lied to and susceptible, you know. Fox, leave it. Leave it. She's sniffing all the SPTV shirts.
Oh my goodness.
She's like, what's in here? Should I dig this up? I'll create my own art.
Is there any food in here? You know?
Yeah. Okay. So sorry. So when did you, so somewhere in that canyon, I guess you were hearing about Scientology or whatever, and some people were into it, and you were just open to hearing about anything, but that's where you heard it.
Yeah. That's where I heard about it.
And then when did you get into the idea of like marketing and advertising? Like how were you good at that? Or when did you start to see, oh, that person liked that, I'm pretty good at this? Or, you know what I mean?
I was already working as a graphic designer in LA.
When you were in the canyon?
When I was in the canyon, yeah. I would drive into work. So I had a lot of experience in that area. And what happened was kind of funny. I went down to the LA org because I was receiving their magazine, you know, those little magazines that they send out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is really bad design, bad writing, bad everything. It was horrible. And so I went down and I spoke to the DSEMSEC at LA org, and I said, I'd like to help you with your magazine because it's really shit. you know?
Yeah.
And
Like
so
even that, Jeff, you came in with a heart. Like you came in even like, hey, you know, if you guys really want to help people, you got to start with your advertising. Like your marketing
yeah,
really sucks.
yeah, exactly. So he said, "Oh, great."
Hi, everybody there in the chat. I just want to say hi, Jen. Hi, Lone Dinosaur. Thank you for being here. They're all excited that you're here, Jeff, as well. Just so you know.
Great.
Hi. And we have fun, very beautiful conversations, I think. Love your shirt. Thank you, Louie. Thank you all for listening and watching. We're going to keep going, but I just wanted to make sure you all were heard and felt loved. If you have any questions for me or Jeff or anything, yes. Love Jeff's cup with the LARA FM circle sticker. You're going to be able to get that soon, everybody. We'll be talking more about that later. If you have any questions for Jeff or myself, feel free to put question in caps, and then that way I'll start later so that you don't feel that we're just scrolling on through. But we'll be talking and chit-chatting and all that on the way. Thank you for being here and listening. Okay, so yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Anyway, to continue the story, so I went down and I talked to the DSEMSEC and I said, listen, I'm a trained graphic designer. I'd like to help you with your magazine. And he said, oh, great. Took me in the back and showed me the shooting boards that they were using. And this was it was camera ready art, and all they had to do was strip in their address. I said, okay, well, who does these shooting boards? Because they're really crappy, you know? And he said, we get those from worldwide in England. So I said, okay, well, then I got to go to England, you know, because the source of the bad quality was in England.
And they're the ones producing all these for all of the organizations,
for all
right?
Orgs.
Right, because everything has to be the same. There's a marketing question I wanted to ask. Obviously, there is a very much a structure or an idea in marketing where everything looks exactly the same, like the same font, the same things what is the purpose of that? To keep people in a specific, obviously, like visual sort of hypnotic like thing. When you see something, that's what you feel, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Is that even with fonts and stuff like that? Is that how it is?
I don't think that they have any awareness of branding. I think it's just comes about from laziness. Yeah.
When you saw these boards? Okay,
Yeah.
so you were like, you're coming in with an actual artful mind, and you're saying this looks like block letters with no love or care or anything. It just looks like crap.
I know, and there was these huge headlines that said, "Buy this book," or "Get trained," and it was always in these huge block letters, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just stupid. So anyway, I ended up going to St. Hill with my brother and another friend of ours. And I got to St. Hill and I said, I want to join.
Wait, so how did you get to St. Hill? Did who bought your ticket? You did it on your own? This is all, I'm a Scientologist public, I just want to help the Sea Org?
Yeah, no, I paid for my own flight. I mean, at that time, I was making good money for 1968.
But what I'm saying, like nowadays, if somebody wanted to do that, they would have to get like approved by COB. Like, oh, so-and-so's coming in to do you know what I mean? So at this time, it was obviously a lot more open and they allowed anybody to sort of donate their time if they were a Scientologist into whatever they want. They didn't need to get permission, right?
No.
Okay, so that's cool. So you're like, wow, they're doing this. The headquarters, so to speak, for this shitty block printing stuff is in England, and yeah. So you want to go see the shop or something, the printing shop, basically, and kind of fix this all up.
I wanted to fix it all up because it was really crappy, and I was a new Scientologist.
I love when you say that. It was really crappy every time. Yeah. And you were like, this is so obvious.
Yeah, and I was like, this could be so much better. And I was, a very dedicated Scientologist. As I was going to
say, in the intention of getting people in, like you could say we could get more people in by just showing that there's art and care into this.
Yeah,
Because right now it looks like crap.
yeah, and it's not going to attract anybody, you know.
Right. If you already are not attracted by it and you're already into Scientology and you're noticing this looks like shit. Okay.
Yeah,
So then
yeah.
you go to England. What do you see? Who do you meet or whatever?
Well, I went to St. Hill,
Yeah.
and they said, well, the
That's
publications.
Alex, apostate Alex and Jeff. They just were there doing the protesting there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah, I
write
saw
that. Did you see that when they're protesting on the road and stuff? So all that looks familiar to you. I've never been to St.
Oh, yeah,
Hill,
yeah,
so-
yeah, very much so.
Mm.
Yeah, I was only there for a day because they said, well, the publications organization has moved to Edinburgh, Scotland. And so I was like, okay, well, then we got to go to Edinburgh, you know?
What?
Yeah.
So what did you do when you went to England? Like, or what did you do when you got there in England first? Like they just told you that and you're like, oh, well, why am I here?
Yeah, basically. Well, they tried to recruit us for St. Hill.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to go to the publishing organization and fix these magazines, you know?
Yeah.
So we got on a train and we went up to Edinburgh. And, you know, we found the publishing org, which was in a small alleyway, and walked in and said, well, we want to join your staff here. And they were like, what? They had never had anybody just walk in and want to join staff. They were desperate for staff, and they weren't able to, you know, recruit any. So we were like a godsend. It's like, oh, people walking in who want to join staff. This was like so unusual for them, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they were like, yes, come in, come in, come in.
So
Sign
it
up.
was even unusual for people to just walk in and want to join staff, even in the 670s and all that. Like, so,
Yeah.
because I know right now they literally are, you see, everybody sees them. They're on the street. They're trying to start it now. Recruitment literally starts by the flyering. Oh, and then once they get you in on a book, eventually, if they really got you synced in on a course and you're coming in every day and you're following the schedule, then they start saying, hey, if you really want to help the planet, you should join the Sea Org. But yeah, it all now starts on that very desperate, like flyering on Hollywood Boulevard or outside any mission or anything that you see outside of Hollywood.
Exactly. So, and I got put into the area that was producing the magazines, and I got to, you know, get them properly designed. So that part was great, you know.
Yeah.
And my senior was my future first wife, Christina. So, and then when she went off, she was pregnant when I met her. She went off to have the baby, and I became the head of that division, which was like the Division 2 of the Pubs Org. And we made all the magazines and did all of that sort of, designed all the books, yeah, the book covers, all.
So, but like books for what? I want people to know. So designed all the magazines for, so each time these magazines come out. Oh, it's just the cats. I was like, is that Foxy and Bubs again? But it's both the sisters literally going, "Rawr," but they're like play fighting. Ugh, I wish I could show the world all like, okay, this is what we're dealing with during our live SPTV. It's quite distracting and funny.
Yeah.
So magazines, you mean, I want people to know that are listening, magazines, when you said we started designing all the magazines, what I remember as magazines were like the OT phenomenons, like people who were completing, you know, their OT levels would write, like basically they would have to demand that you write some sort of success story. And a lot of people were relating like things that happened during their lives or in the car, like, oh, right, I started the car and the car started without me even having put the key in or whatever. They just had these like,
I know, crazy
I
stuff.
moved the ashtray with my thought, or what, right when I wanted the green light to turn green, it was green and this accident happened and I missed it all and whatever, you know what I mean? It's just, they had all these stories that I really believed. Did you make those magazines?
Well, the first thing I did was make the local org magazine and put out the shooting boards.
Okay, and that is the intention of that is to get a magazine out for people like you or whatever that were on the streets that are able to just look through and say, hey, want to help your life? Come into the organization, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
What would you
Totally.
say was your first magazine? Like what was in a few of the pages of your first magazine? Like how did you begin to build that? Like, how do we give a flyer? Is there a ruin in your life? Blow drill popped it here. I want to pop this up. He said Scientology starts with fishing for a person's ruin.
Oh, totally.
Like, so wasn't that one of the first things? I could imagine a promo marketing piece being like, are you having failure in your marriage? Or, I mean, that's what I'm asking. What was your marketing mechanism then?
The first magazines that I did was the ones for the local orgs, because everyone assumed that the local org would not be able to create a magazine. So we had to do the magazine for them. And there was always an LRH article on some subject, and then ads and success stories. But at that time, I was not doing the advanced magazine. But years later.
So these are the local orgs in what area?
LA, San Francisco.
So you were doing, I thought you meant you were just doing it for England or wherever. But so you were on your own money and dime, so to speak, or did you sort of run this through your company a little bit?
No, I was staff member at pubs.
At that point. Okay.
Yeah. And I was just making.
On staff, just for people listening, on staff does not mean you join the Sea Org, right? That's what you're talking about. So he was on staff, but that means he was just going to do it for a couple years or a few, whatever. And he's holding this position, and eventually somebody else would take over that position, and he could leave staff and live his regular outside life and still be a Scientologist, but not in the Sea Org. So, Amy was just talking about this on their other channels about Sea Org members via Scientology staff. Anyway, so this point you're kind of donating. This is what I'm getting to. You're donating your time and your energy and your work. And are you getting a certain bonus or anything back? The more magazines you get out, or are you getting a standard pay just like everybody else, like $45 a week or whatever it is? I don't know what it is.
We were paid sort of a minimum pay at that point.
Okay.
I mean,
which is more than a Sea Org member because you live in the outside world, right? So they do have to compensate you, or it's not enough to even, there's never a Scientology staff job that you aren't also like that you're able to function and be paid so well that it pays your rent and more so that you can just go see the movies and stuff. There's no way that you're on staff and making that money to be able to do that. There's no way, right?
I mean, we had an apartment, but there was like about 20 people living there.
And also I'm saying like you weren't making even enough money from being a staff member to pay the rent for that. I'm sure there was other ways you were coming up with money to pay the rent.
Well, we would all pool our money, like 20 people.
There you go. Okay, so there you go. So
we were
the
able
20
to pay
people
the
would
rent.
right. Yeah. So that because what you're doing to the world is the most important is that you're making these magazines and everything, and you're very dedicated, and anybody who is helping can also pay this cheap rent, so to speak. It's super cheap. There's just 20 of us in a room.
Yeah.
But who cares? Because you guys don't have any other intentions other than just doing Scientology, moving Scientology forward.
We were having fun, and we all, got along, and so it was not unpleasant, So, but then a Sea Org mission came, and then things got really bad.
A Sea Org mission came to recruit you guys for the Sea Org?
No, came to run the pubs org.
Oh, so you're still Scientology public, and then now it's getting sort of stricter because Sea Org members are coming in from David Miscavige, I'm assuming, right?
From Hubbard.
From Hubbard at this time. Okay.
Yeah.
So Hubbard at this time is sending Sea Org members to what? Qual check the work that you are already telling them was shitty and crappy. So now you're doing it yourself for free?
Basically to get the stats up, get the income up.
Okay, so they're coming to you being like, we need to make a magazine to push this item, or we need to make a flyer or a promo, or how are we going to market this so that people, right? Isn't that why they're coming to you? This is your responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. But mostly they are pushing the income. Like, we got to get more money in from the orgs to pay for
Whether
the
that's
books
like books, right? Is that whether for auditing hours, or is that like people actually buying a book that you made and created?
yeah, buying a book. This was the publishing organization. So they made all their money by selling the books, not to public, but to the orgs.
Whoa,
So-
whoa. I want to talk about that right there. What do you mean by selling? So when somebody's selling, what is the entity selling to the organization? What is that called legally?
It's the publisher. We would be the publisher of the books.
Okay, so your company?
Not my company.
Okay, so Bridge Publications, or whatever it was called at the time. Was it called Bridge Publications?
No, it was just
called Pub. It was just called Publications.
Yeah, and later it became New Era Publications.
New Era. Oh, okay, New Era Publications. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so when you said that, it made me think, like, what is the loophole that they're trying to get around or whatever? Why are they selling books to an organization first, and then does the organization sell those to individual public?
Yes.
So you're two separate organizations, apparently away from Scientology legal, right? Like like Publications is separate organization technically from Scientology.
Well, from Scientology management or St. Hill or any of those. We were a publisher, a book publisher. And so we operated
obviously like a Mormon, not to relate any religions or cults or anything, but like a Mormon, let's just say like a Mormon is writing a book about whatever. It could something, a fairy tale. And because they publish their book through their own Mormon, it's kind of like that, right? So you're going to still listen to the head. Even though you're a separate company from Scientology, you're still going to listen to the head leader of Scientology regarding whatever is going to be happening publishing Scientology.
Yeah. We were still under the Sea Org management.
Okay, so Sea Org management comes in and by L. Ron Hubbard at this point and is saying, you guys need to come up with some marketing campaign or something to get more books sold, right? So that the money, it's always about money.
It's always about money. And it really wasn't even, you have to do this and this and this and then get money. It was, you need to get money. And it was like getting on the phones to the orgs and saying, you got to buy more books. You need to buy more books. Send us.
When you say getting on the phones to the orgs, who are you calling?
Orgs.
But who at the org are you calling?
Like the bookstore officer.
So all the receptionists, you're calling basically anybody that's on public lines, right? Because you're saying, do you have books or? That's what I learned at Flag. When I eventually went to Flag, they would have like the basic books or the new books, whatever the new thing would be, or the new lectures or the new tapes or whatever. They would have them sitting at every reception, every ethics MAA office, every sandcastle restaurant. They're just everywhere. Like, did you get your basics? Did you get your books? So it was kind of that vibe, right?
Yeah. And it was always, we would get their stock reports weekly saying how many books they had of each kind. And then we would call them up and go, okay, you don't have enough copies of, say, Problems of Work.
Right.
So you need to put an order right now this week for Problems of Work.
And how does that organization buy it? They buy from their expenses, right? From the regging, they call it, which is just to get money out of people. So they're saying, hey, we're out of these books. There's some non-Scientology, I'm trying not to use the word wogs, that need these books. And we went out, look, they bought the books. So now the org needs new ones. So they're putting the not about money. They're saying there's no books in the org, but the outcome of getting books into the org is to buy them from you, from Bridge Publications or New Era Publications. And so instead of outright making it obvious, all this is about is money. There's no money. We can't do money. And not telling you where that money's going. It's just saying, hey, there's books out of the org and you guys are supposed to have 10 in stock at all time and there's 8 gone.
Right, basically. And it was
and so wow, I didn't realize the just simpleness almost of how marketing and advertising became a direct issue to selling Scientology books. And Diana, like, straight down to the receptionist going, okay, how many books did you sell today? 10? Okay, good. Or how many people did you hand out this pamphlet or flyer to, or this marketing thing? Because that's where it all starts. That's really cool. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like going into like, so basically what I'm saying is that you could be blamed for anything.
And usually would be,
Now it's making sense. I'm like, why was Jeff getting in trouble when he directly wasn't even like other? I mean, I was more aggressive and probably out ethics or out of valence or not as dedicated as a Scientologist or a Sea Org member than you ever were. And I wouldn't be getting, I don't think, in ways as much trouble as I heard you were or other people at the Gold Base for things that they were on purpose for, like on purpose, meaning Scientology purpose. Like I'm saying, like you would get in trouble for not having the right design or something, that whatever, or books not being, my dad got demoted for not having enough books in stock in the warehouse before David Miscavige lied to the world about it. And things like that. So like where I was getting in trouble for like flirting with public and, like smoking cool cigarettes whatever it was when I'm underage or whatever, like it had nothing to do with like Scientology stuff.
Right.
I was like never really interested in Scientology, where you became a Scientologist and almost in the terms of you becoming a Scientologist because your little hippie heart wanted to make their shitty little advertisement better so that they could help more people. And all they did is use you and your skills and your artistry mind and your want to help people to kind of keep you in this locked, brainwashed, controlled mechanism of hypnosis. That's literally what Scientology is.
Right. And it was always about money. Making more money.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's never, we don't outright, they don't go, well, make more money. They do definitely do that to the registrars and things like that, where they're so used to hearing money, $10,000, $100,000, whatever. Right. But it's easier to tell somebody that's dedicated in a group to sell this book. It's super helpful. Or, hey, 8 books are out. That means the word's getting out to the world. So that means you need to get somebody to donate 8 more books. But all this means money. You need to put money here so that more money goes over here. So the more money goes over here.
Yeah.
Right. That's
and ultimately so that more money gets to the top.
And then the top person is, and I want people to know, it's not like David Miscavige is definitely living his luxury life in ways that he doesn't even realize because he's been doing it so long that he doesn't realize other Sea Org members get none of this. They never have any options of this being a thing. He's just always this pampered guy with his Tom Cruise best friend and all sorts of power, ego trips being thrown at him all the time. Yes, sir. No, sir. Oh my God, COB's coming. Get to work. Like, he's walking around like, oh, yeah, look at me, this little whatever. And so it's just really crazy that anybody, especially on dissemination lines or whatever, can be manipulated. They can easily be manipulated or being told, like, you're creating the whole reason Scientology isn't expanding and disseminating. It's your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh boy.
Went down a little tunnel there. That's crazy. So, okay. So you were doing the magazines for these local orgs. What is this? Louis said local org had completions too. Deaths, marriages, births.
Yeah. They had to put all that
start, change, stop, completion.
Yeah. They had to put their local information into it was called shooting boards. And which was just camera ready art, all ready to go. And all they had to do was typeset their address and put that in, and typeset their completions and stick that in. You know, we would have a headline, completions, and then it was just a big blank space. And they would have to fill that in with their local completions, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we were trying to make
and then you just like, oh, your stats are down. Are you upset or out ethics? Are you going to get in trouble where you're up? He's okay. He sold enough books. His statistics are up. He can get away with murder.
That's right. He made a lot of money, so he can do anything.
Right. Not books. You're right. I should say what it is. It wasn't that he sold books or gave books out for free. It wasn't the amount of books he got out. It was how much money he made.
How much money he made.
So Parallel Jen said, did he find Sterling's dad there too? I think they're talking about that canyon.
We did a whole show about that. Yeah. That's where I first met Foster, was in
that hippie canyon.
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh, no.
When I was in Edinburgh.
Before the hippie canyon. Was he in the hippie canyon too?
Yeah. After.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was after. No, but I'm saying after that. Oh, after the hippie canyon, you went to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And that's where you met Foster.
And that's where I met Foster.
Okay, and I remember listening to your episode about that and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
There you go, Parallel Jen. Thank you all for being here. Hi, Poet. Hi, Brian. Hi, Jen. Hi, Willie Weed. Lucas. Yes, everybody's here. Good job, you guys. You made it. Thank you guys so much. Yes. Catch up on, here you go. Happy to catch this live, catching up. Double time speed. Blah, 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 blah. Do that. So that you can, hi, Jeff. How are you today?
Yeah, we could do the whole thing.
Hi, Peggy.
Speak, you know?
Yes. We should do an episode where we're already talking really fast and answering questions really fast. Laura, so great to see you. It's been a while, looking and sounding great. Thank you, Peggy Dooley. Yes, haven't seen you in a while. Hi, sweet angel babes. Louis said, when the basics came out, every post was held responsible for making money with the basics, and LRH references were used to back that up 100%. Like, I remember even as a cleaner, after I was demoted and everything, when the new thing or the new package or the new book would come out, as a cleaner, I had a target, or TM as they call it, and I had a certain amount of books and stuff that I had to sell by a certain point, or at the end of the month, or by the end of the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah, Louis, everybody, there's definitely every post and every job is made responsible for saving the planet by selling all the books. It's so crazy. Okay, so that was from so that's how I love that. So that's how your whole marketing thing got in. I wanted to ask you what was Scientology's for you? What, maybe I would assume there were like top 5, right? What were the top 5 good campaigns or bad campaigns that you did for Scientology specifically? I know you did a lot with Dianetics, right?
With Dianetics. I was the editor of Advanced Magazine for, I don't know, about 5 years, something like that. I was putting out the Advanced magazines, and Advanced organization stats went up every time a magazine went out. So
that was like a real thing. It wasn't a false report.
No, that was a real thing.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was, and I wasn't even OT at the time.
Ooh.
So I was, making this magazine all about OT.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't the Advanced Org magazine, that magazine, doesn't it have the OT stories and things like that in it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I had to put those together every month, which was crazy. And some of them were so weird that I couldn't publish them. Some of those stories that people would send in. There was one guy sent in a story about how he sat down in his easy chair and then, as a Thetan, went to another planet and cleared that other planet. And I said, I'm not going to publish that. I tried to keep the laughable ones out, but people
But
sent
what
in
did
that
you
kind.
think about that? What did you think about that?
I thought the guy was nuts,
Really? But then later, is this before you achieved any OT levels?
It was, yeah, I was, I think, clear at the time, but I hadn't done any OT levels.
So did you think this guy's nuts for reals? Or did you think, okay, even if this happens, I can't put this out because that will look like we're nuts?
Well, yeah, a little of each. I thought he was nuts. And
You
I knew,
didn't think he went and cleared a whole planet
yeah, no, I didn't think
on his
didn't
lounge
think that
chair?
happened. Yeah, from his armchair. Yeah, no, I didn't think that ever happened. So I wasn't about to put that in the magazine. But I would put things in about, somebody almost had an accident and then their car miraculously flew through the air, and one of those stories.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely remember those were like, whoa, I felt so cool that I was going through the magazine and actually getting through it and being like, whoa, I'm really into reading these stories. And it almost was like, for me also, like in disbelief. Like, I don't really believe these stories, but it's in this magazine. So
yeah, must be
if it's
true.
in the magazine, must be true. Look, this is like a really fancy magazine.
Yeah. And for the Advanced magazine, I had to write an article every month about man's spiritual history. So I would, if you remember those articles.
Yeah, I do. So where would you get this from? Would you go back to the history of man?
I would go to the library and research whatever the subject was. Like, say it was alchemy. I did one on alchemy. It was the first one I did. And so I would go and I would find every book that I could that described what alchemy was. And then I would just write a whole article about it based on my research,
Wow.
A lot of work,
That's crazy. And now that you said alchemy, I remember that. I remember, and wouldn't you put like a bunch of stars and like a really cool design behind it, so when you're reading it, the words are like in the universe or something?
Something, but it had to be
there
readable,
was some,
of course. Yeah,
no, it's readable, but there was like a really cool design where it feels like you're reading these words and it's like you're in space or you're in the universe, like you're in stars. So it really feels like you're above the religions, you're above it all, and you're just seeing mess universe for what it is.
Yeah, I probably did something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, what else was in those magazines? So the alchemy, the spiritual things, I remember the OT wins, the OT phenomenons, that's what they would call them. I was like, I would skip through. I wouldn't care who graduated what. I would look in the magazines to see if I knew any familiar faces. But and I would also look in the magazines to see the outside world.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was very, very intrigued by, and so going to Florida or going to Flag, imagine, oh my God, I'm at Flag. Those were in the magazines. But yeah, well, so that was really.
The other thing we used to have in every issue was we would interview an OT.
About what?
Just about his life and his wins
and how Scientology is helping him create this OT life.
Yeah, exactly. And they were all, just how amazing this person was and so forth, and how much they'd achieved by becoming an OT.
Was it hard to get people to find people to get these, or do you have to go pick them out?
I would usually select them. And quite often I would have, I had a representative in Los Angeles who was the assistant editor, was the Post. And I would have him go and interview people in LA, because there was a lot of Scientologists in LA. And this assistant editor happened to be my brother. So, so I would just write to him and say,
hey, I need this. And
I need an interview. Who are you going to interview this month?
Wow. So you were doing this before Gold Base?
Yeah.
Okay, so so you were already working on the magazines. Is there any other magazines you were doing? Were you doing the free wins or anything like that at this time? No, it didn't
This was
exist.
before the free
Yeah,
ones.
the
But
Apollo was.
I was doing the Auditor magazine.
Okay.
And the Source magazine. And I was still doing the org magazines too. I was doing all the magazines. See, my dream come true.
They're like, oh, you didn't want to do one. You came into, you're going to do them all now. You're going to fix them all. Because they're all crap.
Yeah. So you're going to do all the magazines. And I was like, okay, whatever.
So how long were you doing all the magazines for? When did you finish? When did you stop that?
I was doing that for a couple of years. And
from there, what happened after? What was your next job after that position?
Well, we skipped a little bit because when I was working in Copenhagen, I was doing the promotion and designing the books and doing all that kind of stuff. And Hubbard, Mr. L. Ron himself, was starting a marketing unit on the Apollo because he wanted to take a bunch of pictures. He was big on being a photographer. He was this big photographer. So he wanted to take.
Was he really a photographer, or was he trying to be one and then acting like he already was one?
Yeah, kind of that way.
I'll pull it. I wonder if I still have it, but I have a photo where, remember where he's younger and there's all these people around him in the cine, and it's like an old photo, and I have that image stuck in my head from childhood. So when I found that photo, I was like, oh, and they're like, oh, that's when we were on the Apollo and filming or getting ready. Like, so the Apollo is kind of where cine started because L. Ron Hubbard wanted a marketing sort of, basically a crew that created a PR, its own PR, its own media. Like nowadays we have the internet, but they didn't have the internet back then, right? So he's having you smart, intelligent guys create because he can't do it. He's like, I don't know how to do that. Let's get a marketing team in there, and I'll tell them if that's gonna go align with what I'm trying to get people manipulated
exactly.
in.
So he was starting this marketing unit, and he sent a telex to the Pubsorg, and he said, I'm forming up a marketing unit. Get Hawkins from Denmark. So I could hardly say no to that.
Wait, L. Ron Hubbard said that?
Yeah.
Because he knew you were doing all the magazines, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure even if you didn't know that, I'm sure he was like, well, who's doing all these magazines?
Yeah, right.
Get Hawkins. That's crazy. Sorry. Did you ever you've never seen L. Ron Hubbard, right?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Oh, you did? You have?
Yeah.
Jeff, I maybe got you mixed up with somebody else on that particular thing where you worked really somebody worked super close but never actually met him, but was getting orders from him and everything. I forget who that was. That's insane. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you... this is a big deal for me because this makes me understand why my mother was like looked up to you or respected you, period. Jeff Hawkins is still here and he worked with LRH. You know, like I'm sure that's how she thinks.
Yeah, maybe so.
Anyways, that's so crazy. I didn't know that. Okay, sorry. So you were...
So I went to the ship.
He said, get Hawkins. That's crazy. That should be one of your merch shirts once you get your YouTube going.
Yeah, get Hawkins.
LRH. No, but you know how it says like knowledge reports, LRH at the end, it's always dash LRH. It would be like, get Hawkins, LRH. That's crazy. So that's really cool. Obviously people and everybody, and he noticed, oh, money's being made when the magazines go out. Get Hawkins. Who's making the magazines? Get Hawkins. He'll make us more money because we'll put him right here on my boat where we can really do the right. So that's the idea. Bring you to the Apollo. That's when you got shit. That's when you, this is wild.
I had been to the Apollo before when I did my training.
Mm-hmm.
But this was me going back to the Apollo. And I thought I was going to be flying down to Spain again, but I wasn't. I was flown to New York and then flown down to the Caribbean, because they were by that time they were in Curacao. So and I was surprised because I thought they were still in the Mediterranean.
And so doesn't that kind of give you like this, like, oh, the Sea Org's busy, the Apollo ships all over the world, Spain and New York, and I'm not going here, I'm going there.
Yeah, it was a surprise because I hadn't been back to the U.S. in like 6 years or 7 years at that point. So I was like, oh, well, I'll be closer to home.
So then you go to New York?
I went to New York and then caught a flight down to Curacao.
Wow.
So
and then there is where you got on the Apollo.
Yeah.
And then how long are you on the Apollo? And all you're doing here right now, right, is, or tell me, because I don't know. I don't want to assume you're still doing magazines. And are you still doing the magazines? Because if you stop doing them, what's happening? You're losing money, right?
Well, other people took that over.
Okay, so that's what I mean. So you had to turn your hat over, huh? Isn't that one of the things?
Yeah.
I got to turn over my hat. I'm getting orders to go to the ship to work for directly with L. Ron Hubbard. Orders directly from Hubbard.
Oh, totally. So nobody was going to countermand that,
Mm-hmm.
So I picked one of my juniors and turned the hat over to him because he already knew.
He's pretty good at it, and
he was pretty good at it.
And
it's a guy.
You wouldn't. You also, I know. I mean, I can't imagine. If you already joined the Sea Org and Scientology and all this because of a magazine, that you're going to turn over the job to somebody who is like, okay, they actually want to do this, and they have a sort of artful mind too. They'll get it.
Yeah, it was a guy named Pete McMahon. And he's out.
Okay.
He's out.
Pete McMahon. Pete McMahon.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder what happened after, like, did he continue just doing them? I wonder where his life's at.
He's out of Scientology.
Good. We should talk to him, Jeff.
Yeah. He lives out in Palm Springs. And I went out to see him after I left the Sea Org. Yeah.
And how did that go?
It was good. It's good.
Was he already out of Scientology then too?
Oh, yeah,
when you left the Sea Org? Oh, and he understands your kind of mindset because you just left the Sea Org?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, we kind of caught up, which was great. Yeah, it was great.
That's so crazy.
So
okay, sorry. So did you finish? So then before we get into this, you being at the Apollo, and now I wanted to ask, what was your job actually now, since you're not doing the magazines? What did you do exactly at the Apollo? But this was a question from Ann Walsh from the basic books and stuff. How much did these books cost? Lara, if you didn't sell enough, did you have to buy them? For me, I would just really quickly say that we would definitely, I would get other public, or I would just buy I would get I would get people who were money makers of Scientology public, and I would say, I can't get anybody to buy these books, so you have to do it. I would just make somebody who did have enough money, and then they would do it, and then I would say, then it would be up to them to give those books away to new Scientologists or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly the new children they were flirting with.
Yeah, I don't remember what the books cost back then, but it was like a couple of bucks or something,
Really? It wasn't like $25?
Oh, no.
I guess what's back then?
Yeah.
Because how much is Dianetics now? I think it's like $50, isn't it? Something like that.
I mean, book prices are just out the roof now, But back then it was a couple of bucks per book, something like that,
Wow. So I'm wondering if you were actually in the perspective of it, you were selling actually more books and actually disseminating and getting out Scientology more, because they were just focused on, oh, this book thing is making us money. They just kept the book price and everything probably the same, not realizing, oh, if you just raise the prices, people would still buy the book. Because they're going in for this ooga booga bullshit magic, black magic, like made up Scientology stuff. This new, like, oh, you can clear your mind and all this.
Yeah, exactly. And you can be
Okay,
an
so
OT and float around in space and, all that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And not have to worry about religion and all that. Like you're just in a whole, this is completely separate from all that. This is,
Yeah.
people were thinking, I'm sure, like, I mean, once Scientology came into play, but they were definitely like thinking, oh, this is like real science stuff. This is like real, like you're handling the mind and the body, not like religious ideas that maybe aren't all like what people really believe and stuff. So they're thinking, well, this is almost science, right?
Yeah. And you have to remember that back when I first got into Scientology, there was no internet.
That's what I mean. I was like, there was no internet. So like even having you like call Hawkins, who did these magazines? It would be like, get him over here. It wasn't like, hey, Jeff Hawkins, let's FaceTime L. Ron Hubbard and see if this logo is approved. It was like, get him out to the, but also this is what's so manipulative of L. Ron Hubbard is he would just bring people out to a ship to purposely keep them away from the rest of society. That's what you're on a boat for. Yeah.
And also, so back in, say, the late 60s, how did you know that a subject was legit?
Right. Well, you just had to go and see it and do it and feel it yourself.
Yeah. But if it was in a hardback book, it was legit.
It's legit. Oh, wow. Wait, so wasn't there a lot of paperback books sold? Dianetics? A bunch?
Well, but that was later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was to get it out to the masses and not have to pay so much for the hardback.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so crazy. Wow. And I feel like Scientology is moving over again to like Thailand and all this, like other countries where they know that Scientology, like even in China, I think they just open an organization, like, and it's just like, what are you even doing there? And it's like, oh, they can be there because their whole system around them also runs in a very manipulative, mind controlling way. Even the laws in the legal system in China and things like that are very easy for Scientology to just be sitting there doing their thing.
Yeah.
Under the China laws, whatever that means.
Yeah. But Hubbard had this whole idea that people weren't reading anymore.
Oh. What were they doing?
Watching TV.
Watching TV.
Yeah. And he was like, it's a TV world. Nobody reads anymore. They just look at pictures. So he said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a bunch of pictures to make a story. And then we're going to put them into brochures and hand them out to people on the street. These picture stories.
Who came up with that idea? L. Ron Hubbard?
Yeah, Hubbard did.
He said, we're going to hand out little visual pamphlets so people can visually see this is what we're trying to promote to you.
Yeah, so there would be a story, and it would be, this guy is having a horrible time in life, blah, blah, blah. He finds Scientology. All of a sudden, whoopee, he's,
So winning. He's telling you to make these flyers, basically?
What he did was he established what he called the Photo Shoot Org, which was a crew of people who helped him make these photos that he needed. And they had to build sets. They had to get actors in from the crew, dress them up in something they thought approximated WOG clothes, and then shoot these pictures of them in all these scenes. And that was the Photo Shoot Org. And Janice writes a lot about it in her books because the messengers were always, Hubbard would take the photos, but the messengers would set it up and set the focal length and set the...
That's what I mean. Like, he's such a fraud. Did you hear that, guys? He's such a fraud in every single way, Jeff. Like, even the way that he takes other people to do his artwork, so to speak, and then he says, that's my artwork, I'm L. Ron Hubbard. And then he goes to the military and does like dabbles a little bit and then kind of gets kicked out. And he's like, I was in the military. Look at my uniform, da-da-da. Like, he's such a fraud on every single fucking level. Like, it's like the one thing he's good at is being an ultimate fraud. Like in our nowadays, or as Scientology, in, you know, back in the day when new religions and new things were coming out, like whatever, he just really was manipulating people. He had no sense into what he was actually doing. Like he himself, like, is just imagining that his data and knowledge is coming from some other planet, but he himself is a manipulative human being. He's doing it to get the attention from younger people in this time. He was like, I'm just going to behave the way I want and manipulate the crowd and the groups around me based off of a belief system. And in that time, believing, nowadays, you have many people who are believing all kinds of fucking cuckoo shit. And back then it felt very, very, very new and fresh. I feel this is what I'm learning my, you know, the older generations and stuff. It felt really new for religion to be more of like, oh, you could help yourself. You don't need God. You don't need a religion to do it. You don't have to wait for a priest to, you know, you can just audit your mind and yourself. So it was like a whole different concept, whether it was true or not, or whether he stole it directly from psychology and just called it something else. Even psychologists at this time were just learning things. And that's also what I'm learning is psychology. I thought psychology was old, like just like religion. Like, no, people had just, so it's kind of interesting how he took advantage and made believe this whole religion system, which was never a religion in L. Ron Hubbard's eyes. I never once heard him actually talking about Scientology as a religion.
Yeah, no, that was just...
Or a church. That, like, literally, I remember being like, we're not a religion. That's a joke. Religions are stupid. They don't know the tech. They don't get the real truth, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting that he takes your guys' art, your guys' marketing skills, your guys' natural things, and then calls it his tech, his data. This is the standard. I approve it. Like you're using other people's knowledge and power and then putting your name on it. You're a fraud. Like that is L. Ron Hubbard. You are a fucking fraud, L. Ron Hubbard. And like even the paintings, show me a picture or something that he actually painted himself. I bet you he had somebody else paint it. Let's get some DNA test on that. Was there any L. Ron Hubbard DNA on any art that was ever made from L. Ron Hubbard? I don't believe it. No. He's such a fraud, and he's a made up show off. Like he actually didn't even dive deep into any of the things he tries to take credit for. Anyways, wow. Now I'm going to rant and a roll. Did you read this one from SP Cracker Liquor fan? Hi, sweet angel. Question. They said, Jeff, were you involved with the marketing of Dianetics? Obviously, we've been talking about all that. And as I listen to you all, I have come to realize I came extremely close to being sucked into the cult. I lived in LA in '89.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was very much involved in the marketing of Dianetics. I did the whole campaign for Dianetics that was on TV and so forth in the 80s. And that was a huge boom years for Scientology. In the late 80s, Scientology just boomed because they were reading.
Did they have that phrase, book make booms?
Oh, yeah. Hubbard had
in
always
the 80s?
said that.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard came up with that. Wow. I thought that, for some reason, I thought that was a David Miscavige thing. No. I do remember that. That's right. We had to read policy letters or something that said like, or tech. What do you call admin things? Policy. Admin policy. Is it policy? They're all policy. Okay.
Yeah.
So we had to, I remember having to read over and over again, books make boom. Isn't that a policy letter? Books make booms.
It is.
It's like the heading of the policy letter is books make booms. And that means booms, meaning the statistics are going boom. Their statistics are going up, boom. I was just, if y'all are in the chat, they have these crazy events at least twice a year, but mainly New Year's or March 13th event, which is L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. And my mother does the editing for the videos that David Miscavige, when he's talking or anybody announcing the statistics, which is always David Miscavige. And or there's a video that has, what's his name, doing the voiceover.
Oh,
I forget his
Pomerantz, Jeff
Pomerantz. Jeff Pomerantz doing, and now you don't, and it puts you into this whole like delirious haze of being at the events. And my mom literally makes sure that the editing of the video is lined up to his speech or to Jeff Pomerantz's the video, so that when he's saying, and now the St. Hill organization has quadrupled to ×5, and as he's doing the statistics go boom, and it blows off the screen, like literally.
Yeah.
So, and they say,
and the one thing they never show on those statistic graphs is the scale.
Yeah, right. They just show you the graph. They just show you the actual. Well, last week it was 2, and this week it was 3, and then the other week it was 4, and then now it's 8. They don't tell you a scale of what, from 24 hours or from 5 weeks.
Yeah, they never say how many.
And it's also, I don't even believe the statistic. I don't even believe the statistic.
No. And I tell you, I have been in meetings where they were deciding what statistic to show, and it was so pathetic.
It was like, oh, that looks horrible.
Yeah. They
like,
would have
wait, why don't, like this is also a weird thing. Yeah, sure. They want to make it seem like Scientology is doing great. But even in our own staff meetings, in the Sea Org and stuff like that, we did have to be like, flaps. Here's the flaps. The stats were really down this week. Why even in our own internal Sea Org, we're not even registering that, at the event, they're only showing statistics or things that went well. Why are they never talking about the bad stuff and what we need to work on?
Well, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But the executives would look at a graph, and it would, say it's completions or whatever, and it goes down, 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 and then it just inches up. It just goes beep, just inching up a tiny bit,
Yeah.
And it goes beep, and they say, "Good, take that little section,
just that part."
Yeah, and
don't
blow
show
it up.
Everything that happened before that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was actually in those meetings, and it was just like, oh my God, they're just cherry picking any little statistic that shows any kind of a rise.
Who else was in those meetings? Do you remember? Like off the top of your head, all the time.
It was all the guys. Edie Ent, COCMO.
Guillaume so Guillaume Lessev.
Yeah, Mark Yeager.
Yeah,
just the top guys,
So they're kind of going like just to put it into perspective for everyone, they're basically just saying this is for, we need to make sure Mr. Miscavige is approving, like okay with this. He's not going to be okay with seeing the downset before that.
Yeah, exactly.
So gross.
Exactly. I had a friend who, she got out of Scientology, and we met after we were both well out. But she described to me, she was sitting in an event, and it was an international event, and she heard the announcer or the person speaking say, and Pasadena Org's technical division is in affluence. They're booming, right? Well, she was the tech sec at Pasadena Org sitting at this event. And she was like, no, we're not. We're not booming. Why are they saying that?
Yeah. So then what happens? Like, where does it go from there? It's almost like that Leah Remini thing where she asks, well, where's Shelley? And then, and so you think, oh, I'm not in the authority to be asking or to report while the leader of your cult is, saying, and they're booming or whatever, you don't have the authority to go and really verify that and make sure. Is that right? Is there something I don't know?
Yeah, exactly. And so she was going, that's just not true. That's a lie. We are not booming. If she had said that to anybody, that would be considered N theta.
Right. And right. Or you backflashed or out F38 or out PR. or what is the word? Yeah, and theta, I guess, or in turbulation, right? So that was just in turbulate. Why would you yell that out? Like whether that's true or not, it sounds like you're just trying to create turbulation.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the.
So, you know, and I try to explain the difference to people between theta and n-theta and truth and lies. There is no correlation because the speaker was saying that this division was booming. Well, that was theta. And my friend knew that it was a lie. But if she said it was a lie, that would be n-theta. So the truth was n-theta. And the lie was theta. You know, so there's no correlation. You know?
Yeah. And also how they get you in this mind trip control of like n theta, theta in turbulation while you're turbulating the theta. Like it's like a whole mind screw.
Theta is a lie. Yeah.
Yeah. So cute. Jeff, was there here. Ann Walsh said, Jeff, was there Dynetics commercials in the 70s? I remember a volcano.
There weren't any ads in the 70s. We started that whole campaign in the 80s. I think it was 1984 when we really started that campaign.
So would you say that you were the only, did L. Ron Hubbard have anybody else doing ads or campaigns other than you, really?
Not really. I was the only person doing it at that time.
Like, so people would come to you to like get like, hey, is this okay? Approval. Check that. Go through Jeff Hawkins, see what he would do.
Yeah, something like that.
Or run it by Hawkins, make sure that it's approved or something where they were like, because they really don't have any information on the subject. Right.
Yeah.
So they just, they're like, as an artist or as marketing or somebody taking their time to even learn marketing and what looks good and not, they haven't done that. And they know you have because you had an opinion on it. And that's how you even entered being as a helpful person to help Scientology at all.
Yeah, because I had dozens of books on marketing and advertising, and I was studying all the time. And I was taking, mail order courses and things like that in advertising and marketing and media buying, all that stuff, because I wanted to know how it all worked. And so that's how I came to know all that stuff. It wasn't that Hubbard taught me any of that.
No, I've never thought that ever. That's why I laughed right away when I was like, oh, so L. Ron Hubbard, even in the marketing department, like I was like, who came up with that? Even when you were like, even when he says, I want a flyer that says this and this, it's just an idea. Like all humans have ideas and some are, fantasies and some are art pieces and some are creative, physical. Oh, we can do this, but they're all ideas until you put them into physical play. And he uses other people to do his work and then calls his work. Like he calls the work that the other people did his work because he told them to do it.
Yeah.
But he didn't do any physical. Like for me, it's like it's not like a collaboration. Like for me, where I work with artists and producers all the time on music or videos. Like I'm working with this person, and they didn't write the song, but they made the video. And I'm always like LARA FM video, but I'm always like written by blah blah blah. Video of here taken by this person. L. Ron Hubbard just says L. Ron Hubbard approved. I wrote it. Policy. Now it's L. Ron Hubbard policy.
Yeah, well,
and never once does he say thanks, like never. And I'm not, even if he did, it would have been manipulated. But what I'm saying is like all these other people came up with all this cool stuff and not cool stuff. I'm just saying cool ways and smart ways to hopefully help and make a situation better.
Yeah.
And then he made it when it was a good idea. He made it his. And when it was a bad idea, he blamed you for not clearing the planet with your marketing
That's
skills.
Exactly the way that Miscavige operates.
David Miscavige, exactly.
Yeah, same thing.
Same power hungry, narcissistic, blaming, psychopathic.
If something works, then it was him. If something doesn't work, then it was the staff member.
Yeah.
Well, which is how Scientology operates. If the tech works, it's because you followed Hubbard. If the tech doesn't work, it's because you messed up.
Yep, that's exactly how it is.
That's how it
So
is.
go back and find your misunderstood words and find out your overts and your withholds and all your ARC break handlings that lead to overts and withholds, and then write them all up and let us know and come clean, and then realize you messed it all up.
Right. And then redo the service again at
Yes.
full price.
Yes. And to make up the damage, also pay for somebody else to do it. So they can also have for you wasting the auditor's time that you've on your first take through it. Anyways, wow.
Meanwhile,
Okay,
the
guys,
auditor's on the RPF.
That's what I mean. That everybody gets through because flushed away. You get to the RPF, but no, L. Ron Hubbard never goes to the RPF. David Miscavige never goes to the RPF. Who puts their ethics in? They ain't motherfucking gods. Okay, so I think I covered a bunch of really good things. So I was going to ask you one thing about billboards. So when you would come up with a campaign or something like this, would they then take that thing that you made or created and blow it up and put it on a billboard? Were you involved in the billboards at any point?
Not directly involved, but I think we helped on the design of the billboard, the one that goes outside the Hollywood Inn. It's the billboard there, and it always has Dianetics or Scientology on it.
Yeah.
I think because they own it. Yeah. So, that's
interesting that they own it. That's crazy to own a billboard. A religion owns a billboard.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I guess I can move on from that. Guys, we're going to end this soon. So if you have any more questions or any beautiful little starred amazing chats or anything, I'm going to bring them up soon. I'm going to finish asking my last little other questions for you, Jeff. I guess I can. Oh, that's cute. Here you go, Candy. Do that. This is for you, Jeff. Candy's Life said, I asked Laura this last night, so I'll ask you at Jeff Hawkins, what is the one thing you want to be remembered for?
Well, I would say for helping people to get out of Scientology. That's what now I would like to be remembered for. I don't particularly want to be remembered for booming Scientology.
Yeah. No book make boomings.
No book make.
But getting people out of Scientology.
Yeah. Which
which I definitely love that. And what if Scientology doesn't exist anymore in the United States and they're all out? Then what would you want people to?
I would celebrate then.
And what would you want people to remember you for then? Other than that, just for that. Okay, perfect. Good. You're so cool, Jeff. This is from, thank you, Candy. This is from Ann Walsh. Jeff, do you ever wonder what your career could have been in the real world? No disrespect intended.
Yeah, I know what it would have been exactly. My father was a graphic designer himself, and he had his own studio called Studio Artists. And I think I would have followed in his footsteps and done pretty much what I did do once I got out, which was establish my own design studio.
Nice. Skyhawk. That's so cool, Jeff. That's super freaking cool.
Yeah, that is my, I'm kind of retired from it now, but that was for many years, that was my design studio. And I did a lot of logos and websites and all kinds of things. Yeah. So I probably would have done that,
Yeah. And I feel like I already thought that you naturally did that anyways right now. Like one of my things was what tips or suggestions could you give me for my LARA FM sort of merchandise and my marketing without like going down the road of the norm of what people do to try to be famous. Like I'm not trying to do any of that. I would like almost how you gave you know, Scientology, this own little package of how they did it, and you just, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? What would be a good tip or two, um, to let me be myself, but also market myself on being my authentic self? I would love for people to make a lot of money, as much as they want, on being their authentic self and how they are, especially if it's helping and being joyful for other people, or giving space for other people to be themselves as well and to be joyful for themselves as well.
Yeah. You know, I don't know that much about YouTube marketing, to opine on that subject. But
what about, oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. In general, I mean, the first thing you have to kind of work out is, who are you trying to market to? What's your audience? And the more you know about your audience, the better you can market to them.
So when you say that, I love this. When you say that, you ask two things. Who are you trying to market to? And then you said, who is your audience? But for me, the audience becomes who is interested in me, like interested in my story, interested in whatever healing I'm giving them that's making them understand their life better or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want people to, I'm not like in there like L. Ron Hubbard would wish, like advertising LARA FM on the street every day and making people like come into my thing. I want people to just naturally interact with me, go in and out, hang out. Oh, I'm with, you know what I mean? Like, I want that to be the next example for what fame and all this is. I just feel like there's a way that the world can change just as much. People have changed in the new generations, and, you know, mixing all sorts of new ideas and structures, I should say. But like, also, like, it would be nice for people to not have such stuck ideas or opinions, and just kind of form into a new way of living and thinking and believing that everybody can just, like, maybe believe what you're believing in shouldn't be your action, shouldn't be the way you treat other people. Your belief system, you know what I mean? I wish that I'm able to put I want to be an example. I want LARA FM. I want the LARA FM channel and the brand, as you would say, of LARA FM to be authentic and open, and people can hate or dislike at certain times. If it doesn't matter, like, that's the whole point, is that you can dislike. Like, I always want, like, I guess, how would you market somebody? What advice would you give for somebody who's not interested in being famous necessarily, but would like to flourish and prosper in her natural light, in her natural way, other than making cute SPTV shirts and things like that? Which
is great. I mean, that's all great stuff.
And I'm going to start doing my own little personal stuff with that. But my own fun artsy stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
and also, doesn't it feel weird to mix like business and love and truth with marketing and promoting? It feels weird, but it's not, right?
It seems sort of crass and commercial.
Yeah, you know, it feels unnatural right away. I feel weird right away.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that and advice in that. Like, what tips would you, I guess, how would you ease my insecurity of feeling like, I'm not, why am I trying to be famous? Why? Like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that, but I feel like I'm not doing that. And so how do I market myself in a way where I let people know, hey, this is not my intention. This is not what I want to do. But I don't know. Well, do you have any natural tips instead of hungry L. Ron Hubbard, push the money out, sell the books,
push it.
Yeah. Books make booms.
There's a lot to be said for repetition. And getting the image out and all that. But, I mean, the thing that I did with Dianetics that was different was that I got a list of Scientologists, which was the central addresso list for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that to a market research firm, which was completely off policy. and completely a suppressive act to take our names and give them to a marketing firm. But I did it anyway. And I said, run this through your computers and tell me who these people are. And so they did that. And they gave me a breakdown of that list. And they said, all right, most of these people are 25 to 35. They're 60% men and 40% women. They have some college education, but not necessarily college graduates. And they had all of these things that they pulled out of that list. And I then took that to my media company and I said, this is who I want to reach. 25 to 35, 60% male, college, some college education. And they said, okay, right away, we will get you the TV programs that reach those people. And that's how we were able to narrow it down. Because if you just shoot broadly, it's going to cost you a lot of money and you won't be talking to the people that you want to talk to. So for instance,
is like what David Miscavige does all the time. Just put it out there, see what happens. And you're like, don't do that. Stop wasting. But you can't tell him that. No.
Oh. And and I just honed in on that public closer and closer and closer. So any marketing that's good does the same thing. You say, who am I trying to talk to? You say you're selling, I don't know, deodorant, Okay, what kind of people buy deodorant? And you find out they're this and they're that, and they're, this income and that income. And, in the state of Illinois buys more deodorant than any other state. You'll find out all these things. And then you go, okay, so we'll put more budget into Illinois and we'll put our budget into the programs and the media that reach the people that match the people that already buy our product. So if you want to reach the LARA FM fans, well, who are they? And I think if you broke that down, maybe send out a survey, or have your listeners fill out a survey and send it back into you. And you get, okay, this is the age we're talking to. This is what they do. This is what their occupations are. This is, whether or not they went to college or went to high school or whatever. And you start to form a picture in your mind of, okay, these are my people. These are the people that I want to talk to. These are my guys, And then you're like, okay, where can I find more of my people? And then you start to research out and you say, okay, well,
listening to you say it sounds not so bad, but like thinking like asking, Liz or Dylan or Louie, like that feels weird to like be like survey, but honestly, they would love to give me feedback and I would love that.
Absolutely.
But thinking about it feels weird. And that's probably Scientology, like me resenting the control of like, do a survey, figure out what's needed and wanted, like I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. But really, you're also helping me think like, oh, that's also not Scientology. It was just stolen again by Scientology and created by a marketing good genius like you, So
yeah.
At the same time, it's like I'm realizing, wow, in ways we're departing, we're decompartmentalizing, whatever. We're separating in these little things like, oh, well, that was L. Ron Hubbard's bullshit. And this was but also at the same time, like, oh, well, why did he come up with that? That was genius. And then you find out, oh, he had other people figure that out. And then he just made it L. Ron Hubbard policy.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of that where he would read a marketing textbook and then put it out as a policy letter and go, okay, I just came up with this breakthrough. But I was going directly to the books that he
That's
had
what
read.
I mean.
Yeah. I was going directly.
Are you realizing that with me as well right now? Like, I mean, maybe you already knew that, but I mean, you knew that about Dave Miscavige being like Dave Miscavige would resent people that would know or seemed a little bit smarter than him, or would kind of, well, that's why I told you not to do that, or sir, that's why I said that wasn't whatever. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like that.
Yeah. Well, I had to shit can a bunch of policy to get anything done. And people would say, well, this is an interesting out. People would say, well, what you're proposing is not per policy. And I would go, well, L. Ron Hubbard said to study these marketing books. So I studied the marketing books like LRH said to do. And this is what was in those books. Therefore, it's on source. Therefore, fuck you.
Yeah. Like, you're like, okay, so if I need to somehow tell you that this would have been approved by L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And then Dave Miscavige would be upset because you don't come in here and tell him when somebody says, no, fuck that. You say, well, no, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly.
Louis said, were you leaving Scientology? Said, were you the guy that gave LRH the idea to sell 5% of the book market using Dianetics and it would clear the planet on sheer momentum?
Well, he already had that idea. You know, he had the whole books.
He probably got it from somebody else.
Yeah, sure. And he also got it from personal experience because the whole thing started with a book going on the bestseller list, Dianetics, in 1950. And then he formed the whole subject around that core group that he had sold the book to. He had all those names. And then he took all those people and said, hey, we're forming a Dianetics Foundation. Would you like to be part of that? And everybody goes, oh, yeah, sure, I'll be a part of that. And that's how he got it started. So then he's like, okay, guys, if you get the books out there, this is going to happen. You know, he was speaking from his 1950 experience, you know. So, and I'm one of the few people that took him literally and just did that, you know. But you can predict that because we knew how many books we were selling every week through the book outlets and the distributors and everybody else. We knew the exact numbers. And every book had a card in it that they could return if they wanted more information about Dianetics. And we would receive those cards. And it was always about 5% of the people who bought a book would send the card in. And then we would send the cards to the orgs. And the orgs would phone them up and say, I hear you're interested in Dianetics. Why don't you come in? And they would. And that was what the boom was all about. It was all about those names, getting those cards, calling the people and getting them in. And it was just as predictable as, you know, chopping up potatoes or whatever you want to compare it to. It was just, when you do that, they come in, you know?
Yeah, this is what happens.
Yeah. And
Bubs, are you messing up the LARA FM radio?
She's trying to change the settings.
She's like, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
She's like, I've been listening to this Jeff marketing and we need to start. This looks crappy. This looks crappy.
The cat doesn't need to know any marketing. They just know how to meow for the food.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah. But they have their opinions. Yeah. Here we go. Wow, so, Jeff, this was really good. Good job. Yeah. Wow. Okay, yeah.
So when I started the campaign, some people were going, oh, this is a waste of money. Why are we wasting money on this? And Hubbard wrote down and he said, literally, he said, you have a winning horse here that is not being fed enough oats.
You have a winning horse here who is not being fed enough oats.
Yeah. And I went,
wow.
Yes. So then I could submit my budgets, you know, and just attach that and say, Hubbard says we're not being fed enough oats. So here's my PO for the oats.
Oh my God. That's great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Wow. So I'm sure that's also why Dave Miscavige resented you so much, is that you were using like clips of L. Ron Hubbard's stolen realizations of other people's basically slave work. They're working for his ideas, his thing, whatever he wants. He's going to spin them any way he wants. But he's using other people's information, calling his, and then you're taking that later being like, hey, Mr. Davy, little Captain Davy, you're not as powerful as you think, because you're going to have to deal with this little clip I have here from L. Ron Hubbard that says do it.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, you don't interrupt me.
He always hated me. He always hated me because he hates anyone who can do what he can't do or is smarter than he is. And of course, that's most people, you know. So he hates everybody, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I just find that so funny.
Before we go.
All right, one last Louis. Oh, yeah. Let's do our last thing, guys. I'm going to spit out some last things. Go ahead. By the way, Louis says, sounds like Jeff was already a badass and knew how to market in the WOG world with art. He never needed LRH data to be successful with Scientology marketing. You're right, Lara Hubbard totally stole. Literally,
Yeah,
that's all he did.
Exactly. I wanted to mention this book. I don't know.
Yes.
If
The Invisible Machine.
Yeah.
The other way.
Other way.
Okay. There, yeah.
Put it where my head is.
The Invisible Machine. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the co-authors is Jamie Mustard, who lives up here in Portland, and he's a good friend of mine. He is second generation. I knew his dad, John Mustard, and Jamie has been working with.
Is he related to Daniel Mustard?
I don't know. I never knew Daniel.
Okay.
But he's been working with this doctor here, and that's Eugene Lipov.
Yeah, Eugene Lipov. Cool.
And they have done considerable research into post-traumatic stress. And, you know, you've heard of PTSD. Most people who have been in Scientology, particularly Sea Org members and young cadets, suffered a lot of trauma and abuse. And so they have what's commonly called PTSD.
Yeah.
But these researchers say, well, it's not a disorder. PTSD is not, they say it's not a disorder. It's not a mental disorder. It's an actual injury to the brain, a physical injury to the brain. And they call it post-traumatic stress injury.
Nice.
And they have done a lot of research into this to find out what happens to the brain after stress, a lot of stress and abuse. And they have found out that the brain physically changes with stress. And so it's not, it's not a mental disorder or somebody's crazy. It's that their brain is actually physically injured. And so based on all this research, these doctors have developed a method, which and I had it written down, but they have developed a method to reset the brain, kind of like resetting to factory settings, to get the brain reset so that it's not in this constant state of
well, it's like fixing an arm, so your arm can work again instead of being like bent and you're having to like hold it a certain way just to like
telling
eat.
You that it's just
why are you eating that way? Yeah, you're like, I don't know, it's just the only way I can operate.
Yeah, and people say, well, that's because you're mentally deficient. No, you're not. You have a broken arm.
I literally, somebody slammed me and I have a broken arm. And and
it's the same with the broken brain.
Yes.
And what it does is it puts you in continual state of fight or flight, hyper awareness, constant state of hyper awareness. And, I've experienced that. It's the reason I can't sleep at night, is because I'm on alert. I am on constant alert, to get called into the base or whatever I think is going to happen to me,
Totally.
So they've developed this method of resetting the brain, and I encourage anyone to get this book. I think you can get it on Amazon and read it. It is really an incredible book. It goes through all the research and describes the procedure that they do to reset the brain. And I think it's a total game changer. As far as I'm concerned, it's a complete game changer. Yeah. So, and
I love that. I feel like maybe somebody can secretly send that to my mother. Do you think she would understand it at all, or no? She'd be like, "Oh, this is psychology.
well,
This is psychiatry."
there is a lot of technical stuff in it, but I found it very understandable. And I don't know any brain science, but I
Yeah.
found it very understandable. And I know that Jamie has sent copies to Claire Headley and to Mike Rinder and so forth. And I know Claire has been very appreciative of the book.
Okay,
And
cool. I want to read it. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
You're
And,
so sweet, Guppy.
And Jamie, he was on Chris Shelton's show describing this and so forth. And I think that every ex-Scientologist, and particularly ex-Sea Org member, should read this, So get your copy. And
I love
Jamie-
that. Anything
Jamie,
that heals is really good. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
and,
I love that aspect. Sorry, yeah, go ahead. Jamie.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Jamie, yes, I did promote your book.
I've heard of this book also as well on other channels. I want to read it. I like getting knowledge like that helps, again, the individual with their fingerprint, how they feel or see life, and then they can take this good information and relate it to their own life and heal themselves and understand, because it's also fearful for people to talk about, to hear about psychiatry or healing or things like this when your whole life this was always not so it's hard to read or hear things about that. So when it's just something that you understand by reading and you're not taking some medication, even that is really cool to be able to hear or read a book to yourself that you can relate to, that doesn't necessarily force you into a situation where you're not going to see it right away.
Yeah. And I find that it's helpful too, to know that it's not something wrong with your mind. It's something physically
like
injured.
You got abused. You literally have the autopsy shows, whatever, like, oh, it was a hammer that hit their head 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. But,
that's cool.
When I first got out of Scientology, I couldn't be in a closed room with a lot of people.
Oh,
I would have a panic attack.
Literally, me too.
Yeah. I could not be. I would go, God, I got to get out of here. And I would just go and walk the streets, and to calm down, because I would literally have a panic attack because my brain was saying, this is dangerous. This is a dangerous situation to be in a room with this many people, because they're going to attack you, because they always did at the base,
Yeah, that makes total sense. And that's how it is for every living nature, like anything living. It feels like, if you're in a situation where you were taught and repeated, like the same thing happening all the time, when you're going up, why wouldn't you have that reaction? Why wouldn't you seem like a crazy person? Like, nobody's attacking you. Oh, this time they're not.
You might at any second.
Yeah, so and that could change any second.
That hypervigilance, like,
Yep, exactly. Okay, so SB Cracker Liquor Fam, thank you for your cute, sweet donation again. Sorry, and she was saying this to you, Jeff. Sorry about my question regarding Dianetics. I may have missed you talking about it. I just remember walking into Walden Books and Dianetics on full display. Couldn't avoid seeing them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've talked about this before, and I will probably talk about it again. But yeah, we had it in every bookstore in the United States at the height of that campaign. But walk into any bookstore today, and you won't be able to find the book anywhere. It's just gone. And then they wonder why they're not getting people in. But you can't find that book anywhere. And so that's
yeah.
Mitch Brisker was telling me a story. They came to him because they wanted to do another Dianetics campaign. So they were doing a stat analysis of book sales, and they showed the graph to Mitch, and he noticed that the graph began in 1995, and he said, "Well, you're missing out the whole of the 80s when the book sales were booming." And they said, well, if we were to graph the graph with including those sales in the 80s, then the current sales would just be right along the bottom of the graph.
Oh no, it would just be like yeah, it was, and that's for nowadays when it should be quadruple, like so many people, like the amount of album sales today in a certain amount of time compared to the amount of album sales if you were even selling that amount. Like Alanis Morissette and the Beatles were like the top of the charts selling full albums, and that was before the freaking internet and shit. Mariah Carey, that's another one. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so their book sales have crashed. A lot of their other stats have crashed. It's true. It's true.
No, what is the opposite of power change?
Yeah, power change violation. Yeah, kaboom. And Scientology has been declining ever since 1991. You can see it on a graph. It goes, which way am I going here? You go 1991, and then the stats go the other way, down. And when I left, they were still going down in 2005. And I doubt that they've recovered.
No, they have not
gone further down. So they are collapsing, in slow motion, but they are collapsing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's no way they're doing better. There's absolutely no way. There's no way. And it's all fall inside. Yes. And if you're at the London IS event, I'm sure they'll tell you how amazing everything is and how great it is. Speaking of that, PTS for Life was there with Apostate Alex, and he just asked, I would love to chat with you. What's the best way to reach you? Just email me, LARA, LARA FM music @gmail.com, and then I'll go from there with you. Yes, I would love to chat with you too. But yeah, so they totally put up this whole internally. That's what I'm saying. Like, even my mother is part of this big lie, as you know. She's the one putting up the videos and the false reports and pretending, oh, well, we won't put that in because that looks bad. There's a bum in the shot. That looks like DB or whatever the word, like they just make it look great and amazing and theta. And their justification is theta. It's theta. We know we're spreading theta.
Yeah.
No N theta, just theta.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter to them that it's all lies.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Well,
good.
This one's from Treasure Bloke. Folks. Research start. Oh, is it? Wait, did it? No. Wait. What is this? Oh, that's true. Wow, I didn't even know this. Not the one I wanted to pull up. I wanted to pull up this other sweet one right here from Treasure Bloke. I don't know what that was. Okay, Lara can have a tank girl kind of vibe,
Yeah.
brash, abrasive, and punkish, but directed at an evil corp in the lore, and also has a parallel here. So pop art, punkish stuff. Thank you. That's a good little sweet, quick description of a live chat of LARA FM.
Yeah, that's a very good description of your brand. Yeah.
Yes, good. Yes, of my brand.
Yes, your brand.
Oh, well, thank you, Jeff. This was so informative, and this was a really good topic. I think that was really, I feel like I've learned a lot, and I also feel much better that you taught me that marketing and advertising can actually be like an art form and not like a must do and blah. You know what I mean?
We're manipulating people and all this.
Right. No, you're just going like, what do you guys like? Okay, cool. I love doing that. I'll do more of that. Great. Come in.
Yeah. And
I love that.
And it's also knowing who your people are.
Right.
And finding more of your people.
Instead of the people I don't want. Exactly. Yeah. Like that just feels so cool and knowledgeable and fun.
But yeah.
All right. That was so great, Jeff. Thank you so much. Also, Jeff, I am sending you, I want to get you a hoodie that you're wearing as well, but I wanted to have the LARA FM or the SPTV on it.
Awesome.
So remind me to send you that as well. And then also we're gonna have a straight out of Scientology. Will you show everybody your shirt again for those who missed the beginning? We're going to have a straight out of Scientology shirt on my LARA FM, lara.fm. You can go to the website and there's a little Polaroid that says more merch and just click on that. And eventually you're going to see a bunch of cool merch coming up that you guys can come and support and make life fun with your bright, beautiful goldenrod colors.
And we should continue this talk.
100%. I love this so much. We're going to always continue our talk, Jeff. As long as you're available, we'll always continue it.
Yeah.
Before we go, I just wanted to do we're doing a giveaway for the first. This is the first, as you can see, I'm wearing SPTV shirt. So I'm going to scroll through and just click anybody in the comments if you want the SPTV goldenrod t-shirt signed by LARA FM herself. Scroll through now and I'm gonna buzz or actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do a question because I like that one better because then it makes people kind of remember the old episodes and blah blah blah. Let's see, what would be a good question for a shirt winning? What did we do? Do you have a good ideas, Jeff? What would be a good question for LARA FM viewers? Liz, throw a question out there. Whoever answers, how about that, Liz? You throw a question out there, Liz, for somebody to guess in the chat, and I will pull it up, and whoever gets it first gets it. How about that? And also, Liz says, show the love and smash the like and hit subscribe if you are not subscribed. But if you are subscribed, then just stay there. All right, let's see what fun questions will pop up. Let's see what this is. This was awesome. This is from Ansley. This was awesome. You two are great. And the questions from Lara and her surprise about Jeff meeting Hubbard, putting all the pieces together is so important and shows the truth through years in the cult of Scientology. Yes, very, very true. Thank you, Jeff. Good job. Good job.
Thank you for having me.
For making it happen.
Do you know what this?
Wait. We need a screenshot of that.
Oh yeah,
right here. Somebody will get us. Yeah,
that's right. Now, question for you. Do you know?
Isn't it the horn? What is it?
Yeah, that's rock on. But do you know what this is?
What?
In American Sign Language, that's "I love you."
Oh,
isn't that great?
Yeah, and this is rock on, and this is I love you.
So,
my God, that's so sweet,
I go like
Jeffy. This. Yes, oh, rock on, I love you. That's so cool. Good job. That was very sweet.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Who's going to win the shirt before we go, before we end this amazing chat we had today? Thank you so much, Jeff, before I shut us all out.
I am happy to be here.
Where's Ann Walsh? Did Ann Walsh? Ew, what was the question? What did I? Ann Walsh gets the shirt. Liz Fair said, what did I smush for Lara not to be happy with me? And Ann Walsh got it and said cockroaches. So Ann Walsh, will you email me? Here's my email address. Where is my email? There it is. Here's my email address. I'll send you a shirt. Send me your address. There you go. Good job. You won one of the very first batches of the SPTV Goldenrod t-shirts. Tell me your size and we'll go from there. All right, Jeff, I love you so much. This was so great. You're so awesome and so inspiring. And exactly. Everybody in the chat, we love you so much. Chickadee chang chang, chickadee chang chang. Love y'all. Love you, Liz. Thank you. Sandy Powers, Shirley. We all love you very much. I will have new stuff coming soon. And also, I will be talking at 6:30. I'm changing it to 6:30 about the jobs and the different things I did after I left the Sea Org. So we'll do a little bit of that at 6:30 tonight in an hour. Thank you,
Great.
Jeff. Talk to you soon. So much.
Thank you.
So much love. Thank you so much. Bye.